as I said, my name is Chris, and before we begin, I'll just give you a brief overview on the presentation I'm sharing right now. So first, a little bit of background into USG, also known as the Universities at Shady Grove. It is a regional higher education center in Rockville, Maryland. And on this one campus, it offers over 80 degree programs at both the undergraduate and graduate levels across 9 universities in the University System of Maryland, all on this one campus in Rockville, Maryland. The location is very important. We're located on what's called the I-270 Technology Corridor, where there's lots of local industry and definitely tons of opportunities for students and graduates alike, as our student presenters will talk about in a little bit. We are located only 18 miles from DC, which can be reached directly via the Metro Red Line, which can be accessed only 4 miles away from campus at the Shady Grove Metro Station. USG is considered a full-service non-residential campus, which means you have access to all of the same resources and services that are offered at a traditional campus. The only thing that you don't have access to is dormitories. This is considered a commuter-only campus, but everything else you'll have access to. So right here are the 9 universities that are partnered at USG, all a part of the University System of Maryland. And this slide has a map for your locational reference. The Universities at Shady Grove is located about 40 miles from our home campus, UMBC, which is in Baltimore County. So as you can see, that's on the edge of Baltimore City, whereas our campus is much closer to DC. So to go over some of the special features of USG, so as a UMBC student at USG, you are earning a true UMBC degree. There's no asterisk or addendum or anything like that about which campus you took classes at or graduated from. It's all the same. In addition, USG offers all of the same resources that you would find at a home campus. In addition, you'll also still have access to the UMBC main campus resources as well, including things like career prep, counseling, and scholarships. At USG, as a UMBC student, you're paying the same tuition rate that students at the home campus are paying. However, the fee structure is slightly different due to the locational difference as well. When it comes to scholarship opportunities, you'll have opportunities both through UMBC home campus, which the resource is called Scholarship Retriever, and you'll have access to Universities at Shady Grove only scholarships. So basically being on this campus gives you twice the amount of scholarship opportunities. This slide is an overview of the degree programs that UMBC offers at the universities at Shady Grove, including 7 undergraduate degrees, our 4 graduate programs, and several post-baccalaureate certificates as well. As a special highlight, I just want to go over our regional graduate tuition rate. So basically, tuition rate differs whether you are a Maryland resident or a non-Maryland resident. Students who live in Maryland are charged a lower tuition rate. However, even if you don't live in Maryland, students who reside in the specific neighboring states and counties are eligible for in-state tuition as well. This includes all of DC and Delaware and Pennsylvania and Northern Virginia residents in the specific counties that are outlined here. There's a link at the bottom of the page that has a bit more information if you're curious. So that's all that I'm going to say in my part. I'm about to hand it over to our program director, Dr. Ali Yusuf, for some more program-specific information about our Master's of Professional Studies in Data Science. But if you'd like any more information about our programs, feel free to scan the QR code I have here or follow the link right below that, and you can fill out our Contact Us form. With any questions you have, this will get you into our automated system, which you'll get emails about deadlines and reminders for our program, and any questions you have, we'll get back to you in about 24 to 48 hours. And at the very bottom is the Shady Grove email for any questions you might have. So now I'm going to hand it over to our program director, Dr. Ali Yusuf.
Thank you, Chris. So let's focus a bit more on the data science program, because the students you are going to meet are also graduates of this program, and we want to tell you a bit more about this program. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So I am the second one in this line. Chris has already given the presentation they had. Now I will tell you about this thing, and then I will invite these students one by one. And we also will have time for a QA session for each of the presentations. Next slide, please. So these are the two contact points. If you have anything that you want to discuss about the program, the courses offered and pathways and anything academic, then you write to me, and this is my email address. If you have questions related to the administrative aspect of it, about tuition, about anything that is not directly related to academics, then you write to Chris, and their email address is given here also. Thank you. And then next slide. So data science, most of you would know. If you are here, probably you already have an understanding of what data science is and why you're interested. But let me remind you that this is a very applied field, which is a combination of computer science, maths, and statistics, and some domain knowledge. And the reason why it is important to point out this thing is because when you apply for admissions, we definitely look for your background in maths and statistics and computer science. If you know a programming language fairly well, that is a good starting point. If there are other courses, definitely they count, but the minimum requirement is that you should know enough of one programming very well. And then maths means calculus, and statistics, and a course in statistics. The domain knowledge is something which we look for when we look at your resume and your background, because lots of students in this program come from backgrounds other than computer science or maths. They come with a background in biology, economics, social work, all sorts of things. And the reason why we value them is because that domain knowledge is what is needed if you want to solve problems in that area. So we provide the tools. Data science provides all the tools that you need to deal with large amounts of data, but you also need domain knowledge. And that domain knowledge you may be bringing with you if you already have some work experience, or if you have a degree which is not exactly in computer science or maths. We definitely appreciate students applying from other backgrounds, because data science now covers everything from biology to advanced maths and physics. Everything can be covered. Next slide, please. So the website gives you all the information that you need. The link is here. And we have a master's program, which obviously most of you would like to take part in if you are coming to the Shady Grove campus. You can also get a certificate program, and the advantage of the certificate program is it offers you an inside knowledge of the data science program itself by taking the first 4 courses that are also part of the master's program. So your commitment is much less compared to 10 courses. You commit only for 4 courses. You can complete that one, and then you can say, okay, I enjoyed it, I want to go on and get a degree also. Then you can tell us that, okay, you want to apply for that one, and all these 4 courses that you have taken will be transferred into your master's program. Those 4 courses are predefined, which means you can take whatever course you like. These 4 courses, which are part of the certificate program, are well defined and structured, but they are included in the bigger master's program. If you are an undergrad at UMBC or elsewhere, you can also take the accelerated BS MPS program, which means you start taking the data science courses, graduate level data science courses, during your undergraduate studies. You can take up to 3 courses. And the advantage is, if you take these courses at undergrad, you pay the undergrad fee for these graduate level courses. So you save some money out of it also, and also you speed up your learning so that when you join, you have fewer semesters to finish the degree program. Next slide, please. The core courses here are these 7 courses. First 4 are the courses which are required for the certificate program, and then there are 3 more. The next slide. Once you have done those courses, then you can start taking courses in the pathways, and pathways keep evolving. We are adding more. We are removing sometimes courses which are not relevant, but right now this is what we have. And you can see the background knowledge that you have, the domain knowledge that you have is important, because you can also specialize in areas like clinical informatics, which requires a knowledge of clinical aspects of things and issues. Cybersecurity is also an area where you can go, which is not directly within data science. You can also take courses in economics and healthcare analytics, management science, policy analysis, project management, so on and so forth. Shady Grove has its own courses. These are 3 pathways which we offer through the Shady Grove campus. Bioinformatics is in collaboration with NIH. NIH also offers some type of funding to students. So if you are interested in that area, when you reach that level, let us know and we will see if they have any specialized funding resources for you. Clinical Informatics is a program with University of Maryland, Baltimore, which is part of the University System of Maryland. And you can also take courses there, and then they are also included as part of data science pathway courses. And there are some courses which are offered at both campuses, which are also listed here. So pathways give you a chance to connect your knowledge of data science to your domain knowledge. So take advantage of them when you become a student. And the next slide. So these websites are available to you to get more information. If you want to follow the accelerated BS MPS program, then there's a link. If you want to get directly into the MPS program because you have an undergraduate degree, then you apply through this thing. There are deadlines given, and I think deadlines are coming on the next slide. Next slide, please. Oh, so deadlines. I think you mentioned deadlines somewhere else. Earlier, you have already mentioned the deadlines. So I missed. They were there. They were in the slide. Your last slide, actually, Chris, when they were showing their last slide, that slide had the deadline, so we can go back. But let's go on and let me introduce you to students whom we have invited for this thing. Just by chance, they were all my students too. So they were not just program students. We have, of course, lots of students in the data science program, hundreds of them. Not all of them are my students. These were my students. Jennifer and Kevin did a very interesting project with me during their capstone course, which is part of the required courses in data science. And that was an AI-driven culinary innovation, which is a very interesting idea. And especially at that time when we were still learning to use large language models, that was a high-spirited move to see if we can use them to create recipes which are also motivated by some kind of requirements that you have. Because if you ask LLMs to create a recipe for you, they can bring in recipes from all over the world. You can do the same thing with Google search also. The problem is they may not be relevant for you because you may have special requirements. And the issue here was to see how to combine that with the recipes generated by LLMs. That was the work of Jennifer and Kevin. It was good enough to get an award. So they both actually got an award at the research day, which we have at the university main campus. The other student who will come after them was also my student. He was working through a research grant that I had at that time, where we were exploring the applications of generative AI for students with learning challenges. A very interesting area for me personally. And Fang worked on this thing. He started the work on this thing. And he also ended up getting an award for his work. So they are all accomplished students. They are also now spread all over the country because they are not in Maryland. One of them is Maryland, one is in Texas, the other is in California. So students obviously move out, which is good, which is a very happy thing for me as a teacher, that they have skills which can be used by a large variety of people, variety of organizations. So let's move on to Jennifer and Kevin. Thank you. So this is my email address if you want to contact me. I'll pass on to Jennifer and Kevin to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. I'll click off the introductions here. My name is Kevin Smith. I am a current student in the graduate program, but I am going to be graduating in December. When I started the program, I was working as a chemist in a quality control lab for AstraZeneca. And since my exposure to everything that I've learned in the program, I've actually been able to transition to our data science and AI team as a data scientist. And then I'll pass it over to Jennifer to introduce herself while I share our research.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'm Jennifer Giolitti. When I graduated the data science MPS program this past May. Before I did the program, when I started, I was actually a data coordinator at a healthcare research center in Seattle. It was called Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center. And I basically was a glorified data entry clerk. After a year in the program, I got hired at Booz Allen as a data scientist, a like mid-level data scientist, and I have been working there since. And I have moved to the very sunny state of California, and I live in San Diego. Booz Allen is primarily like a defense contracting company, so I support the Navy out here, and definitely make use of these skills every day. Cannot recommend the program enough. It was not only enough to get me a job in the first place, but also get me one long before I graduated. So I cannot recommend it enough. But so when we decided to do this project, we were full transparency. We had a big motivation of we were in the capstone class. And so we needed to create a project. Dr. Yusuf really recommended that we, if we could, do something related to LLMs because it was probably going to be relevant. And if you guys have, I don't know, even gone on the internet lately, I'm sure you know that ChatGPT and every other model that's just been boosted in popularity is everywhere. And everyone in the industry wants an LLM for something. So we decided to use that technology. Kevin and I were confident enough to give it a go. And so I actually got this idea at the office. Funny enough, my company had a soup making contest, and I was trying to figure out if my soup was gluten free because I had a gluten free coworker, and I was like, these are the ingredients in the recipe. I am 99% sure this is gluten free. And she was like, actually, if it uses garlic powder, there's a chance that it's not because garlic powder can have yeast in it. And I was like, that's insane.
Oh.
I don't even know what to do with that. Yeah, it's funny, right? I didn't know what to do with that. And then like within the day, I came up with this idea for like a version of ChatGPT basically that could adjust a recipe to be able to fit a specific dietary need. We decided to make a version of this project that could just modify an existing recipe. In the future, it'd be really nice to be able to like have it generate your own recipe based on a specific requirement. If you tell it, I want macaroni and cheese, it'll give you, and I'm gluten-free, it'll give you a gluten-free recipe for mac and cheese. But because we only had 5 months to do the project, we tried to scale it down a little bit. So just like basic American recipes, we weren't really worrying about getting too far into like specialized ingredients for other countries. And we also just wanted to make it so it could modify the recipes to fit a specific dietary need. And then among dietary needs, we focused on just the gym bro diet, if you've heard of it. Basically like the high protein, low carb diet that would help you lose weight or gain muscle, just because that was really accessible to everyone. So based on those specific parameters, we built this model, and I will pass it off to Kevin to talk about some of the data processing and how we structured the model and everything.
Yeah, this class, the capstone, was a great opportunity to do a bunch of research with like kind of the full pipeline of what it means to be a data scientist. So a lot of what we did, because you have chances to do other projects in pretty much every class that you take in this program, but this was one to really dive in and have dedicated time. What we did was a big part of the project was preparing and data cleaning. So getting data sources to put into our RAG, which is like a third brain for these large language models. When you're working with them, you just scrape as much data as you can. And then we experimented with chunking that data, different preparation. There's a bunch of different strategies for feeding data to these models. One's chunking and embedding it. There's other ones where you really want to dumb it down. So it's almost like baby speak because the LLMs can search better when it's just very simple sentences. So we took a bunch of data from cooking books, any kind of academic things on food, chemistry, research, and the culinary arts. And then we also just took a giant database of recipes. And our data processing is mapped up like this. So it was a combination of a bunch of different data, all put into a big data frame, chunked, embedded so that the LLM could search it. It gets put into a vector database. We use Facebook's AI similarity search. So that way, when you're interacting with the model, it can search faster. And also what the RAG method does, it also eliminates chances of hallucinations because it's going to this validated information source. So it can even provide exact references, like this is said in this document or things like that. So we pretty much gather all that data, put it through generated a bunch of outputs, and then we didn't know if they were good or not. So we needed to evaluate that. So Jennifer will talk about the evaluation methods.
Yeah, evaluation methods are difficult for LLMs just because the methods can be variable for what the output looks like. What are you going for? How do you know if you're hallucinating or not? Like that type of thing. So we actually use several different methods of evaluating the model to see if it was good. And there's two main sections of like evaluation methods. One is the like quantitative methods. We really wanted to see if you break it down to like raw facts, like what percent protein, what percent fats, what percent carbohydrates were the recipes that were getting spit out. And like basically like how many calories were they? If you boil it down to the raw science, did it actually follow the rules and get like the type of recipes that we wanted? So we were looking to see if the recipes were between like 10 and 30% protein, 20 and 35% fat, and 45 and 65% carbohydrates, just to see if they fit the like profile of what does like a real proper healthy recipe mean in this dietary context. And then the next type of evaluation method was like qualitative analysis. So we were trying to understand questions like, does the recipe taste good? Can you read the recipe? Can like a person with an average reading level follow the recipe? Is it practical? Is it telling me to put chicken in the oven for 12 hours? That's not going to cut it. And things like, is it actually like healthier over the course of that? So by combining these two methods, we were able to evaluate the model to see if it was good, basically. And one of the interesting methods that we use to evaluate or to do some of the qualitative analysis was actually that we asked LLMs if the model was good, basically, like if the output was good, because it turns out that LLMs are a lot cheaper than people. So at least for the preliminary version of testing this model, like it being like a functional prototype like we were expecting, we really wanted to get a bunch of data at once about if it was good or not. And we did at one point consider doing like a focus group, go out, cook some recipes, ask people like, did you cook it? Did you like it? Was it easy? But that would have taken a lot of time and probably some money, which we did not have since we were just taking a class basically. So we use LLMs to evaluate that. And that's at least like a starting point. If we were trying to sell this as a real product, I'm sure we would probably have to do some actual user testing and get in the kitchen. But for the purpose of this class and like seeing if the model was even somewhat successful, we were able to do that. We were able to use like the results that we got, and that was good in the end because we actually had to do a lot of fine tuning on the front end. One of the components that we used was like prompt engineering. How do you phrase the question to get the model to give you the answer that you're looking for? And so we were able to like iteratively make improvements on it and like generate that prompt. And then in the end, when we evaluated, once we got like a kind of good product off of like 100 recipes, we actually ran through about 4,000 recipes. It took about 80 hours because my poor MacBook was on for 3 or 4 straight days of just modifying recipes. I just had it in the corner like it was in timeout or something for 4 days. And of the 4,000 recipes that it was able to process, 60% of them were actually successfully modified, which was great because we were honestly only aiming for 50 for this prototype. And then among the results, the average reading level was about like 10 to 12th grade, which is what we would hope for because we don't really want like young kids in the kitchen. So we're hoping that once you get a little older and you can read a little better, that you're able to follow the recipes. And then for any measure that we tried to do of like practicality or faithfulness or tastiness or healthiness or whatever measure we gave it, we were basically ranking those scores on a scale from 1 to 10. And we saw like at least a 1 point or like 10% improvement in score across the board. So at that point, we were like generating recipes that were considered to be more practical, healthy, tasty, and just true to what we were actually like trying to modify. So overall, it was a very successful project. I have presented this like at work and stuff, and anyone that I tell is you should turn this into an app. So I guess that's something for Kevin and I to consider for the future. People were very pleased with it at the Research Day conference. It won an award that, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we actually applied to receive the award. I did not submit the application. So it was good enough to get around that. And then lastly, we were just able to do it with like our personal hardware. So like I mentioned, I was just doing this with a MacBook, and it's still something that won awards. Kevin was also just working with his own stuff, and we weren't necessarily funded by anything. So for that kind of situation, we were pretty pleased with the results. Anything else to add, Kevin?
No, not really. This was my first time working with like a large language model in the program, besides homework help and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a great opportunity to really dive deep on just a part of the data science world and learn how to evaluate a different kind of model.
Yeah. So any questions?
Yeah, we have time for a few questions. In the chat window, is there anything? I don't see any. But people who are listening, if you have any questions, you can ask. At least get some recipe for tonight's dinner. Some LLM generated recipe for tonight.
I'm gonna have to go through my files. I don't think my computer wants to start up again. It's still traumatized. I gotta start a llama and
Yeah, it will take time, but
load the data. But we can get something. We got 4,000 options at least.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot. I don't see any
There's some
questions.
questions.
Sorry, Kevin?
Yeah, there's some questions. I'll just add that throughout the program, you get like a lot of like little opportunities to do mini research projects almost in every single class. And it's really good because your domain knowledge, as long as there's data available, you're not tied down to a specific topic. So that was a really cool part about the program.
Yeah, adding to that, a lot of my projects, since I took a lot of the FAES classes, I did the bioinformatics pathway. I did a bunch of stuff on like different like DNA sequencing things, and I like made a model that could predict diagnoses based on symptoms and stuff like that. So if you look at my entire degree, I didn't necessarily have a lead up to doing like cooking recipes. I just thought it sounded cool. I thought about what I wanted to say that my master my master's final project was in, and I basically picked on that. I think it worked out.
Great. Thank you both so much for the wonderful presentation. Again, any questions from our attendees, feel free. We have a few minutes now set aside for it. If you want to put it in the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself and ask directly. That's fine too.
There is one question actually.
From Kevin in the chat.
So actually, the hard part was, it's easy. There's like big databases that are available out there, and they have nutritional data down to like chemical compound that's found in the food. The hard part was trying to like arrange that in a way that's meaningful for our model to use, because there's a lot of like conversions you need to do, if it's like in grams per liter, or another one's in like micro grams per liter and stuff like that. But all that data is out there in some databases.
Yeah, and that data pre-processing part is becoming, it is a big job of any data scientist. Data is never given to you in a form which is immediately available for anything. You have to clean it, you have to process it, and everybody has to learn techniques how to manage that data which is coming raw, because people who collect that data, that they collect it for some specific purpose. You may have a different application in mind, and for that, generally data has to be modified, cleaned, and processed. Another question here also is this. So you had to pre-convert for the LLM. That's the next question here.
Yeah, it's, I would say, a little outside the scope of the recruitment presentation to go into like the specific details as to like how we like generated like a vector database, like a searchable, indexable vector database. But the short story version is that we use like a Facebook existing algorithm that can match up similar like text to figure out what the most relevant one is. And then we had like a prompt engineering, think like what you would normally type into ChatGPT, give me this recipe modified to fit this. And then basically it would take the prompt and then the relevant sections and them together and then pass it through into the model. And that was its own challenge because if that was too long, it went outside like the free version that we were using for the project that can be pretty expensive. So we were using like a free version. So it was like we had to pre-convert it to a version that could get small enough to then package through. So yeah, if you are interested in more of that stuff, like the processing, I do think that's worth a technical deep dive, but it is fun. Yeah, no problem.
Thank
Great.
you.
So if there's no other questions at this time, we're now going to move on to our second presentation from Feng Li.
And okay. And good night, everyone. And thank you for Chris and Dr. Yusuf for inviting me for this nice presentation. And so today I'm just going to talk about a project that's mentored by Dr. Yusuf about the applications of generative AI for students with learning challenge. And actually, I want to give a little bit of intro for myself. And so I have a PhD in biological science, and I have over 7 years of experience working at NIH, majorly just doing some wet lab research and the focus on like cancer and virus studies. And during this kind of biological career, I was really just thrilled and interested in maybe I want to do some transition into data science and to apply some computational or statistical tools for the biomedical research. So I decided to join the UMBC in 2023 and will be graduating in 2025. Given the courses and the skills I've learned during these 2 years of the program, and I've moved to a new position, and I'm currently a staff scientist in quantitative biology in Texas. And can you go next? It's quite actually it's quite interesting for me to learn about this kind of data science program, because while I was in the NIH, and there's one day I somehow clicked into an internal website so it's called FAES. It seems like NIH have some collaboration with UMBC, which provide like a data science program for fellows. And so because I'm postdoc and I'm not eligible to apply for this program, but I'm still very interested because I do want to explore some new field like data science, and then utilize those kind of skills to study the biological questions. So I decided to like self-sponsor myself for this program. And the other great thing for these programs is it offers some like pathway course that's offered by the NIH in like bioinformatics. And can you go next? Yes. So because the UMBC data science program really offers some great training for scientists like me, who don't have a lot of computer science skills or coding skills. And I do have some very basic knowledge of like how to do Python programming, but didn't have systematically learned like how the data science work, this machine learning and AI algorithm works. And this program really not just focused on those kind of algorithm or math stuff. It more covers some like basic ideas of how the data science, how the pipeline is developed. And the next. So the other great, I think, advantage for enrolling in these programs is, so if you're in Maryland, it's very close to either Bethesda or the Frederick. So for me, I was working at the Frederick NH campus, so it's 30 minutes drive for me to take classes in the Shady Grove, and it's like a part-time program, and I take classes at the night, so it's quite convenient for me. And next. And most of all, though, when you enroll these programs, you will get a chance to meet with a lot of great mentors and peers from different fields like social science and finance and in industry fields, and which is quite a great opportunity to interact with different people from different domains. And next, please. So during this 2 years program, I've achieved a lot of for example, like technical skills like Python programming and the SQL and the TensorFlow for deep learning. And you will really during this course, like introduction to like machine learning and AI, you will be able to build like end-to-end data pipelines, and you can also apply the machine learning to different like domain. Like for me, I want to utilize the AI to solve some biological questions. So all of those skills and the mindset of developing pipelines is really contribute to my knowledge of developing like tools for solving the biological projects. In the next. So based on those like skills and concepts I've learned from this program, and those program really lay the foundations of this project that's using the AI to empower the students with disabilities. Because we're in the age of AI, so we can definitely leverage the AI tools to help the students with the need, and also the educators and caregivers. So we're using so we want to develop like some AI-powered wearable glasses, so that allow us to convert image to text and then convert text to voice. So this will make the students become more independent, and they can more flexibility to learn by themselves. And to develop these tools, we use a variety of AI tools, such as GPT Whisper and Assembly AI models. And actually, we get quite a promising results. And so we proved that the generative AI can effectively extract the valuable information from the image and convert into text and audio formats, and with some specific prompt engineering. In the next, please. So all of this projects is, so we're trying to build some gap, because based on some data from like a school year of 2022 and 2023, over 7 million children there with disabilities, and they're in high need for those kind of personnel and the teachers to assist them in the school. And the government had to spend tons of money and resource for recruiting the personnel to help the students. And over 1 million of personnel need to be hired like nationwide. So we wonder maybe we can use the AI to help either the teachers or students with disabilities to become more independent either in the classroom or like outside, such as in the museum, those kind of circumstances. And next, please. Yeah, go next. Thank you. So the pipeline we're developing here is we're trying to eventually we want to engineer the envision classes for those students if they're blind or if they have some vision problems. Once they put on these glasses, they can automatically take some pictures surrounding them. And after extracting this image, we can use the AI and the prompt engineering to extract some information from this image and transform it into like text. And then with some other AI tools, those texts can be converted into voice, so that can allow the students to even though they cannot see it, but they can hear it. So the AI can explain some like details of the image to them. So they can read books, they can appreciate arts, and for those kind of things. And the next, please. So like this project, I'm really just focused on the step 2 and 3, and I'm trying to use different kind of AI tools to extract like text information from like book. For example, here I just take a picture from the book cover. Like it's a book written by, I think Miss Lee, is To Kill a Mockingbird. So we use like GPT and mini model with some specific prompt engineering, such as we can specify what format and what context or what action do we want to extract from this image. And as a result, the response can be very specific. And for example, and in the prompt, you can ask the AI to recommend some related books. And yeah, so this response is quite useful for the students, because I think personally, like you can see AI is smart, but sometimes they're also dumb. And most of the information, if you don't provide specific instruction, they're useless. So our job is to do some prompt engineering that only extracts some useful information for the students. And next, a second example would be, so suppose the students will be in the museum to appreciate some like arts. So the glasses can take some picture of these arts, and then the response will be really just describing what style of this painting and what like which artists draw this kind of picture. And during this kind of like prompt engineering, and one thing we're pretty interested in is if we use the text like information generated by the AI, and then we throw it back into the AI, can the AI regenerate the same image? And the results are quite like surprising, because if you look at the bottom compared to the up, they have some similar like features. Both of those pictures are quite asymmetric, but in details, they're quite different. So we draw a conclusion that even though the AI is powerful to extract some useful and valuable information, but the bottom line is the AI cannot replace human. And the next, please. Yes, and go next. And so to conclude, I think that by leveraging the AI, we can integrate the generative AI into the classroom, and which can help the students with learning challenge to read, listen, and think, and also appreciate the art. But one thing we should really focus is, because the AI, they are still developed by human, they can be very useful tools, but they cannot replace human. And sometimes they cannot reach 100% accuracy. And in the future, we're probably going to develop some two group of students, one group with the AI help, the other doesn't. So then we can generate some data and do some statistical analysis to see whether the AI really just help the students with disabilities. And the final goal is just to developing the envision glasses. I want to see this is like a 2-month project, and it's a pilot study. And yeah, hopefully in the future, we can reach this goal to develop a very low cost envision classes and to help those kind of students. And the last, and can you go next? With these two projects, I really want to thank like Dr. Youssef and Dr. Belfort, and also the Hebrowski Innovation Fund. And I'm happy to take any questions.
So I have a question about the program in general. So I know the data science is MPS in most universities I was looking at, or MS. So it's probably obvious this is more professional geared, but what sticks out in terms of the MPS versus an MS data science degree?
Great question. Dr. Youssef, would you like to take this one?
It looks like Dr. Youssef may be having some technical challenges, so I'm happy to pop in here, Ash. And hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Moyer. I serve as the Associate Vice Provost of Academic Partnerships and our operations here at UMBC Shady Grove. So we're delighted you all joined us this afternoon. To your question, the Master of Professional Studies really focuses on that applied experience. So you've heard tonight from students who have completed capstone projects that have really enabled these students to take concepts they're learning in the classroom and relate them to real-world issues, problem-solving real-world issues, or alleviating wider-scale problems or concerns. The MS, the Master of Science option, has more of a research component to it. The MPS certainly does offer research opportunities, clearly, but there's more of a stringent research focus. I will say, and I'm hopeful maybe Dr. Ali will be able to connect in here in a moment, the MPS and data science program has gone through an approval process. We're working on the approval for both campuses. UMBC Catonsville has already been approved. We're working on the UMBC Shady Grove campus approval, but there will be an MS in data science option in the very near future, beginning fall 2026. For prospective students who are looking to join the program. So that will be an option for folks who are interested in the MS as opposed to the MPS. Dr. Youssef, did you want to add any additional context to that? Looks like you're back with us.
Yeah, sorry, I have a trouble going on in my house from early morning. There was a water leakage. It took 12 hours to resolve.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that's why I was out. So I missed the question because I had to step out to pay him. But I think there was some question about the degree program itself and the MS.
So the difference between the MPS and MS, I
difference,
provided
yeah.
some context on that. Yep.
Yeah, so we are working on this thing. We have the approval. So main campus will start probably in next year, fall, and we will start at the same time. So we will switch to the program, and students who are in the pipeline will then be handled. So if you join early, let's say if you join in January, February, you will be given a chance to see if you want to transfer to MS or not. And so some depends on the choice of the students. Because courses are different in the two programs. There are differences between these two programs. MS is has a bit more maths. It's a bit more focused on data science, and therefore there will be some courses. But if you are very early in the program, which you will be now, it might be possible to switch to MS. I hope that answers. And any other question? I didn't.
Actually, thank you so much, both of you.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you for that. If there's no other questions from anyone in attendance today about the program or for any of our student presenters? Well, seeing as there is not, oh, yes, Ash, you're very welcome. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to share my screen one last time just for some final reminders and to close us out for the evening. So here we
Thank
go.
you to all the students who came in, the students who presented, Jennifer, Kevin, and Feng, and all those who came to hear them and who found out what exactly is going on in the data science program. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all for attending this evening. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you are interested by what you heard and these students and are interested in our data science program at either the MPS or the MS as it soon will be, here are some next steps and deadlines in the process. So we are currently still accepting applications for the spring 2026 semester, which the deadline will be December 1st. However, if you're interested more in next year, in the fall 2026 deadline will be August 1st, 2026. Now, those in particular are the domestic deadlines. If you would be considered an international student, the deadlines are at the bottom. They are November 1st of this year and May 1st of next year, respectively. If you are interested, we recommend scanning the QR code, which will take you to the How to Apply page for the data science program. You can review all of the required documents and prerequisites and everything like that. We then encourage you to apply online via the second block there and submit all of your required materials by the deadline. You'll be required to finish and submit the online application, submit a current resume, official copies of your undergraduate transcripts, and a personal goal statement or statement of purpose. And if you are an international applicant, you also are required to submit 2 letters of recommendation as well. After that, we admit based on rolling admissions. So you'll probably hear back with a decision about 2 to 4 weeks after you submit your application. And again, just having this here again, if you have any other questions after this or would like more information, feel free, again, fill out the Contact Us form. You'll start getting emails from us, or you can send them directly to the email address at the bottom of the page, and I'll get back to you with answers to your questions. So thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed our presentations and are interested in the data science program going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Chelsea.
Yes, thank you, everyone, our presenters as well.
Bye.